Welcome to the demonstration of the project group called GameLab. I am Alexander Schuurman, a designer in this group. Now, let's show you what we have been up to for the past 4 months. Briefly speaking, the game you're seeing here right now, right here, is called Diversity. The reason why this game is called this way is because of a request from the client. They want all of their products to be called the same, so that's why we kept the name. This game is a recreation of the old board game that this company used to make. We decided to spice it up and make it look better. As the person did most of the research behind the gameplay loops, let me explain how the game works. For this game there are 2 gameplay loops that work together. First you start with the main menu. Then go to the game and roll a dice. This is where the first gameplay loop starts. The amount of dots on the dice are going to say how many spaces you can move. When you open a card, this is where the second loop starts. You can see that each card has a different color representing a different kind of question. The player answers the question and earns points. This is where the second gameplay loop ends and the first one continues. After that, the next player is up. The first gameplay loop will continue until one of the players reaches the maximum amount of points. This is where the first gameplay loop ends and also the game ends. The player with the maximum amount of points wins the game. I have done some research to see if these gameplay loops are fun enough and also learnable for the players, as this was one of the requirements of the client. All of my participants that participated in this research were on a different kind of level of gaming experience. One of them hasn't gamed a lot, the other one games on a regular basis, and the other one games a lot. And I can conclude from this research that doesn't matter if you just start playing your first game, or if this is like the 20th game that you've played, the game is fun and you learn from the game. It also feels quite natural to play, so it's not like you jump into the game and be like, okay, what the heck are the controls? No, according to the players, this game feels natural. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the other requirement done that was set out by the client. That was to make this game playable on multiple devices at the same time, multiplayer. But we also created the game in such a way that you can also do it with the help of just setting some other stuff up. For example, you can use the application TeamViewer to let the host of the game host the game itself, and then the other players can just press space or do something else. You can also play this game on Zoom, where you just have to talk to the host and say, okay, press space to roll my dice or press this on to get it done. You can also use this game on the platform that we're using right now, Discord. And now I'm going to give the word to a person that's also working on this game, Noah, who is one of the developers, and he's also going to tell what he has done.
Hello, this is Noah Berkow speaking. I'm one of the programmers in the OK Gamer group. I've worked with quite a few tasks in the game, these being the dice physics and mechanics, 4-player local system, including turn management, dynamic camera, player movement, and bug fixing. To begin, the board is started off with a piece of code I made that will store the nodes in a list in a certain order so the player moves through the list. And this is how the path the player takes around the board was created. The path is visible by green lines as shown below in the video, going through a clockwise direction. The dice mechanics mostly involve tossing the dice up using add force and add torque to launch the rigid body up into the air, and this spins the dice slightly, as shown in the action below. To check which side the dice has landed on, the code will check the orientation of the dice in order to see which side of the dice is facing up, in this case 5. The code then takes the number of which the dice has landed on and sends this number to the stone object, which controls the player, as you will see now. So as you can see below, the dice will land, and after that the code will check the orientation and send the number of steps to the player. The player will then move according to the number of steps the dice has landed on.
Hi, I'm Matthew and I'm one of the developers of our team. During this project I developed the card storage, the card pop-up and entering system, the point system and a bit of the UI functionality. The original card game has the cards divided in categories, and so they're also divided in these same categories in our game. Each category has its own class, and these classes are then added to lists. So on the screen right here is one of these classes, and this is one of the lists of all the cards. In this iteration, like you see on the screen, all the questions are hard-coded into the game, but ideally in a future iteration the game would be linked to the client's online card database so they can add and remove cards easily. When the player lands on a square, a card corresponding to the category of the square will pop up on the screen. In this case it's a diversity guide card, which is a statement card. With statement cards the player reads the statement out loud and they and their team can react to it. Based on the player's answer, the team decides if they get a point or not, and based on their decision they either click the thumbs up or thumbs down button to award a point or not. So in this case we award a point, and then the point is added to the player's score. So this is an example of a multiple choice card. The player picks an answer. If it's right, they get a point. If it's wrong, they don't get a point. And after they pick an answer, they get feedback on whether it's correct or not, and also they get an explanation of the answer.
What you've seen so far was the PC build for the game, but we also ported the game to Android. We rotated the cards 90 degrees to increase visibility of the text and moved the dice button to the right. Due to some technical issues we were unable to port to iOS at this point, but this can be worked on in future builds. Here's a gameplay sample of the Android build.
As a Scrum Master, instead, I first created a group contract that everyone signed, and then I created a Google Drive folder in which everyone put their work, as well as a Trello board with information about meetings, coaching sessions, and the workload divided in sprints that we used to keep track of the group progress. The group meetings were set on our Discord channel every Tuesday. That was also the day of the beginning of every sprint. While as a designer, we had a meeting every Monday to show each other what we did and ask for help if necessary. I also was in charge of contacting the client and set meetings with them. So far we had 2 meetings in which we showcased the product to them and received feedback on it. Last thing I worked on was the sound design. I created the different sound effects as well as different options for the background music.
Hi, I'm Ivailo, and I'm one of the designers in the team. Alongside my contribution to the design research and decisions early on in the development of our project, I also worked on small art and programming tasks like creating the logo of our game and implementing the sounds. Apart from that, I worked on redesigning the point system to one that won't be so simple, but will be more enjoyable by the players. So after some research and brainstorming, I came up with 4 new directions that we can go with. By using both qualitative and quantitative research methods, I set up playtests with subjects who were of different cultural backgrounds and tested them in a moderated environment. The goal was to find out which system the players preferred the most, and the results were clear and useful. One of the options was a definite winner. Total of 10 test subjects, consisting of groups of 3 to 4 players, did the playtest, and all of them produced valuable feedback that shaped some of the future changes to our game.
Hello, my name is Jack Dow, one of the artists on this project. For this project I worked on the terrain surrounding the board and the board itself, along with some UI elements like the throw dice button you see on the bottom left. When designing any aspect of this game, we had to keep in mind our large target audience. Our target audience is from all over the world, and making sure they didn't feel excluded and instead represented was one of our number 1 goals for the art style and art direction. The idea behind having the terrain surrounding the board was to make everyone who plays the game feel recognized by having the 4 separate types of environment that represent the 4 climate zones, which are tropical zone, subtropics, temperate zone, and cold zone. The research was done with prototypes of this board that told us that different people from different regions of the world did feel represented by what they saw on the board terrain, as it reminded them of their home country with the nature that they have there. For the board itself, it was decided to stick to the nature theme to fit the rest of the board. but also again to appeal to everyone in our target audience because it is a basic wooden board and nothing too stylized or appealing towards one culture or another. The board is meant to look as if it was painted over with the diversity logo and colours that represent the corresponding cards.
My name is João Batista and I'm one of the artists for our group. For this project, I was the one that created all of the cards in the game, some UI elements and animations for the game pawn. In the screen here, there is one of the cards that I made, and there are 4 more variations of the card, one for each different version of the card that there exists, and there's 2 different back versions of the card. While designing the cards, I decided that I wanted to give a more friendly vibe to them so that the player would feel more at ease when talking about these important topics. For this purpose, I gave a circular feel to all the elements inside the card, and according to the shape theory, circular forms are more friendly. I also worked on the award points and no award points buttons as seen in the card, as the green thumbs up and the red thumbs down. I decided to make them this way, using the same idea as the cards with the shape theory of the other aspect of the game that I worked on but sadly wasn't able to implement on the game was an animation for the main players, as seen in the screen. Me and Jack decided to exaggerate the movement of the piece while jumping to give it a more human feel, and even though we weren't able to implement it in the current game iteration, we hope that we might be able to implement it in the future of the game.
So that's it for the video. Now everybody has had their turn to speak. Now let's play the game. You can go to the download and play section in our Discord channel, download the exe and have fun. And also remember that only one player needs to run the game and the other can just join via screen share or team viewer. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear it from you.